short night of rest. So,
Andy, I love you to death, but I'm not at Wake Forest.
oh, what did I say?
That's all right.
What did I just say? Wake Forest? I'm sorry.
No, don't worry about it. I started off with, I love you to death.
Yeah, the butt is the problem.
Yeah, that's okay. It's all good. And look, we all probably had a long night, so I
It
got
was.
back late. So you probably was up preparing for this call. So we'll move forward with that.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank
Yep.
you for being patient with me.
Yep.
You got a question for Kevin? Please go ahead and use the raise hand tool, and we'll get to as many as we can here. First one up is Bennett Conlon. Bennett, go ahead.
Coach, I wanted to ask what you've seen of Virginia this year. It seems like maybe they've taken a small step back defensively, but have still been or sort of improved from last year offensively, and just sort of what you've seen from them this season.
Well, I don't know, Bennett, if they've necessarily taken a step back. What happens with teams in college basketball, and it's kind of weird how this works. The more you score, then it appears like your defense is not as good. Meaning that if you're a scoring team, then everybody says, man, they're not very good defensively. They're still, when you pull the numbers and you look at it, they're still one of the top defensive teams in the country and always will be because that's their calling card. But they're talented. What makes this team a little bit scary is the fact that they can still defend you, but they also can put points on the board. Typically, they don't do that. They haven't done that in the past. They've been more everything's come off the defense. But he's got a team that can score, some guys that can believe in themselves. It's and I don't know this, you probably do. They've got four guys right around, above 10 points a game. And that probably hasn't happened since the national championship team, which is obviously a couple of years ago. But they're talented. They're really good, and they can still defend you.
David Thompson, go ahead, sir.
Hey, good morning, Coach.
Hey.
I'm just curious, despite playing in front of either no fans or very limited amount of fans, ACC teams are winning at home at a very high percentage, including you guys. Why do you think that is?
I think there's still a travel element to it that nobody thinks about. I think it's something to be said about sleeping in your own bed and being a little comfortable. I still think that's that being said, David, and what a great name for NC State people to have that name too. I would.
You're not the first to bring that up, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I had to bring that up. But I think a lot of it has to be with where kids feel comfortable. Kids typically perform when they're in better situation where they feel like they're comfortable and everything else. That's the only thing I can say to it. And that's a complete guess. You can write it or say Kevin Keatts gave me a complete bullshit answer, but that's what it is,
Well, are road trips particularly harder this year for y'all, particularly in the COVID era?
It's a challenge. And not only just the trip to get there, how you have to, when you get to these hotels and how you have to space out and the limited amount of, there's opportunities where you can watch film. There's opportunities where you can't have a bunch of guys together. Whether that's affecting the play on the court, I don't know, but it is weird. It's different than we've all had to do.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mike Barber, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I'm curious. During football season, we had a lot of coaches mention that it was hard to develop consistency to carry over from one game to the next. With everything you guys are dealing with, how hard is it to get consistent, not wins or losses, but execution?
Mike, the toughest challenges for any coach probably in a year, and I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I can say most are going through the same thing is, you have so many, you have to situations, whether it's COVID, and then in our situation, if you add injuries into it, it makes it a little bit tougher. But I think one of the things that a lot of people are not talking about is I think we finished maybe our 13th game last night. We would have played 11 non-conference games. We just finished playing 8 conference games, and so you just didn't have the football, I give them a lot of credit, man. They pulled it off. I think our team played 10 or 11 games. We have a modified season in basketball with no chances possibly we want to be able to make up some of the games that we miss, but there's just not a lot of weeks into it. And so what happens is that everybody is struggling because the chemistry is not really good. You don't have a chance to, develop your team. And if you're playing freshmen, they really struggle because I feel like freshmen have been cheated this year.
And along those same lines, Coach Cable, Coach Brownell mentioned that there is so much going on that you kind of have to coach the mental aspect with these kids even more this year. And not that that's wrong, but it does take away from your X's and O's and your preparation. How have you found a balance?
Well, it's a tough balance. What we're trying to do, Mike, is let our guys know that we're there for them. We also have, full-time sports psychiatrists that can talk to them. But it's tough being, and I know people's like, man, tough being a kid. It's tough being a kid or an athlete right now. And people don't see that because when you flip on the TV, you just see the finished product. You see those guys who are out there playing and they look like they're having fun. TV can trick you the way things look, but you don't know what their families are going through. You don't know what their situation is back home. It's the other element to it is we're strictly our guys are strictly online, and that's been a challenge too. So you're doing stuff. Basketball players are usually routine people like basketball coaches, and the routine is completely screwed up right
now. James Henderson, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, I don't know if you've had a chance to watch the game back, but I was wondering how you would evaluate Darion Sebron's play. He came off the bench, gave you 17 minutes against Syracuse.
James, I thought he did some really good things. He's certainly our most athletic guy that we have on our roster now. He's long. He got out in transition. I thought he did a lot of good things. He's a freshman, and when I evaluate not just him, but those three freshman guards that had to play, I thought they played inspired basketball. I thought they played winning basketball, but all three of them made a couple mistakes down the stretch that freshmen will make. I thought he did a tremendous job. He made a three-pointer. He got out in transition. He was active. The one thing that, obviously that we've got to teach a young freshman is at the end of the game, I didn't want to foul because we would have had a difference of probably about 14 seconds. And, we played great defense, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, don't foul. And with 6 seconds on the shot clock, because he's a young kid, he fouls. And, that's just a situation where I can teach him to become better in those areas. But I was very happy the way he played. I was happy with my team. Nobody expected us to go in and play the way we did, especially with the adversity that we were facing.
And just one more on Virginia. You went up there last year and got a 2-point win. Is there much you can take away from that game, or are the rosters just too differently to really take a lot away from it?
It's completely different, man. It's been a year, and since that year, we've had a lot of things go on. There's absolutely nothing we can take from the game. As you know, I'm going to watch the game, as in Virginia, but we got different personnel. I had 3 veteran guards at that time with Markel Johnson, CJ Bryce, and Devin Daniels, and it's a completely different squad.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
We'll squeeze one quick more question in from Kip Coons. Kip, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Kevin. You have to be encouraged the way your guys played without 2 of your mainstays in the lineup. And I was just wondering first, would you have a Funderburk back for Wednesday? And if not, how do you combat the size that Virginia has in front court?
Yeah, I don't, Kip, I do not know if we will have him on Wednesday. Too early to determine that. I have no idea on that part of it. But how do we combat the size? I don't know. That's something that at least I got a couple days and maybe 3 days, at least it's a 9 o'clock game, so I can try to figure that out. But they are, they're tall. They're Hauser and Huff are as good as they come, talented 4 and 5 in our league and make shots. And what makes them tough is both of those guys they can ISO Hauser, Huff can step out and make threes. And And then I haven't even got into the point where I'm talking about their guards. But we got to figure it out, make some adjustment. To the first part of your question, man, I'm excited about the way our guys competed. We had every reason to walk in that game and put our head down and not perform. And I learned a lot about a lot of these guys. And, I've always looked at those teams that were young at the guard spot and like, man, I can't imagine being able to coach so many young guys. And now I'm the guy coaching the young guys. So I got to figure out how to, continue to get those guys better, continue to get those guys confidence. Manny Bates and both Manny Bates and Jericho Ellis both gave me everything that I could have ever imagined having from two veteran guys. And I say veteran guys, Manny Bates a sophomore. And so, so now we went from having a bunch of, older senior guys to relying on freshmen and sophomores, and it's really tough in this league. But Kip, we're going to keep on fighting, and that's what we do.